I thought my wife was just busy with work. Turns out she was busy with her old boss for 12 freaking years. And I found out the whole thing from a manila envelope sitting on my desk. I'm really sorry, Mr. Turner. I hate giving news like this, John Michael said, handing me a thick envelope. Inside, a full write-up of my wife Karen's affair with her former boss, Brad Foster. Along with the report were printed photos and a DVD. I had seen the pictures already. That was rough enough. But the DVD? That was something I hadn't brought myself to watch. Not yet. Part of me didn't want to. The other part knew I'd have to, eventually, just to face what John had uncovered. How long has this been going on? I asked him. John flipped through his notes. From what we gathered, at least 10 years. Maybe 12. Looks like it started right around the time she was being considered for that promotion. That was shortly after your daughter Emily was born. My stomach dropped. 12 years. That meant Jake, my son, might not even be mine. That thought hadn't hit me until that moment. I made a mental note. I needed to do a DNA test soon. And then another thought followed immediately after. What about diseases? I swallowed hard. Brad. Has he been with other women? John nodded grimly. Yes, several. All married. And your wife wasn't the only one. If you've been intimate with her all this time, I need to get tested. I muttered, more to myself than him. Soon. John sat in silence as I flipped through the report again. Some parts felt surreal. Others made me laugh out of sheer bitterness. One sentence in the report stood out. Karen appears blissfully unaware of Brad's other relationships outside of hers. As if that was supposed to make me feel better. If it helps, John added. Brad told someone he never intended to break up your marriage. He just wanted her body. He made a point of saying they never did anything in your house. Oh, great, I said deadpan. So at least my bed wasn't polluted with his bodily fluids. That makes it all better, John. Thanks. I had met Brad a few times before. Always thought he was smug. The kind of guy women find attractive, but who has the emotional depth of a soup spoon. His smug little smirk used to irritate me. Now I knew why it was always there. John wasn't finished. Also, Brad's sister, Melissa, she's known about it the entire time. 12 years. She even helped cover for them on occasion. That hit me hard. I had always liked Melissa. She seemed kind, quiet, the opposite of her arrogant brother. Now I knew she'd been enabling their betrayal for over a decade. I sat there for a moment, numb. You talked to a lawyer yet? John asked gently. Not yet. I wanted the truth first. I do a lot of work for Rachel Simmons. Smart attorney. Hates cheaters with a passion. I can send this over to her and let her know you're coming. That'd be good. Thank you, I said, pocketing the business card John handed me. Before I left, he said one more thing. Let Rachel handle it. Don't confront your wife. I know you're angry, and I know you're hurting, but this isn't the time to go full scorched earth. You've got kids. This isn't a Reddit thread. This is your life. I nodded. Yeah, I hear you, but it still hurt like hell. I paid John, walked to my car, and cried. Not a soft, quiet cry either. A full-on breakdown. 15 minutes of just raw, ugly, hopeless sobbing. Then I lit a cigarette, first one since college, and drove to the nearest bar. I sat there, drinking cheap beer, staring at the wall, trying to figure out when my marriage had died. The bartender, an older guy with sleeves rolled up and a voice like sandpaper, gave me a once-over. You all right, buddy? I looked up, eyes red. That obvious? Afraid so, he said with a half-smile. Let me guess. Wife cheating? I chuckled bitterly. 12 years. If you can believe that. He just nodded like it was Tuesday. I've seen it all, man. You're not alone. We talked for a while. Then he leaned in and said, You know what my granddad used to say? I cried because I had no shoes. Then I met a man with no feet. I smiled for the first time all day. Your granddad sounds like a wise man. He was. Finish that beer, son. Then go home. This place ain't got the answers you're looking for. He was right. I wasn't ready to confront Karen yet. But I was done pretending everything was okay. Tomorrow I'd call Rachel Simmons, and everything would start to change. After I found out about the affair, I couldn't stop replaying everything in my head. All the little red flags I ignored suddenly made perfect, gut-wrenching sense. Once I knew what Karen had been doing behind my back, every memory from the last 12 years hit me like a truck. First, none of it made sense. But then the pieces started to come together too perfectly. After our second child, Emily, was born, I got a vasectomy. No more surprises, right? Except not long after that, Karen went back on birth control. When I asked her about it, she shrugged and said it helped regulate her cycle. I didn't know any better. I wasn't exactly an expert on women's health. I figured she was telling the truth. She was always careful about things like that, or so I thought. But now I see it clearly. She wasn't taking pills for her cycle. She was taking them because she was still sleeping with someone else. That someone, of course, was Brad Foster, her boss, her smug, suit-wearing, cologne-drenched boss. When she landed her promotion, she started traveling more often. At first it was once a month, then it became more frequent, 2-3 trips a month. Always a weekend included. She told me it was all part of the job, and I wanted to believe her. I asked her once why she was packing tight dresses and heels that screamed cocktail hour, not corporate boardroom. She said entertaining clients was part of her new role. I asked her who she was entertaining. Now I know. I remember calling her late at night during those trips. She always answered right away, almost too quickly. Said she was alone in her hotel room working. But a couple of times, I could swear I heard a man's voice in the background. Other times, her voice cracked when she talked, like she was distracted. Looking back, I can't believe I didn't see it. Maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't want to. The smell was another clue. When she came home from those trips, sometimes I could smell Brad's aftershave on her clothes. I knew that scent well. He wore enough of it to choke a horse. I smelled it the few times we met at company functions. The same stench that made my stomach turn was on my wife's clothes. And then there were the Friday workdays. After the company sold, Karen told me she was technically retired, but that her specialized skills were still in demand, so she'd be working 1 day a week. Seemed reasonable. But then 1 day turned into 2, then 3. She'd be gone till 9 or 10 at night. Work ran late, she'd say. We had to wrap up reports, right? Some weeks, her so-called business trips doubled, and she was gone for entire weekends. I took over as the kids' primary caregiver, because she was always too exhausted or overbooked. I handled school drop-offs, sports practice, doctor visits, everything. I thought I was being a good partner, supporting her career. In reality, I was just being used. And that's what hurts the most. She would come home like nothing happened. Smiling, hugging the kids, kissing me like she didn't just spend 3 days in bed with another man. I convinced myself that maybe I was imagining things, that I was overthinking it, that it couldn't possibly be what it looked like. But now I know it was exactly what it looked like. I just refused to see it. There was one specific night I'll never forget. It was a week after she got back from a trip to Denver, or so she claimed. She came home later than usual, and I noticed she had tossed her clothes in the laundry hamper instead of hanging them like she normally did. Curious, I checked. That same awful aftershave. I held the fabric up to my nose and almost gagged. That was the night I decided to call John Michaels and hire him. I didn't tell Karen, obviously. I played it cool. I told her work was getting busier and I might be home less. She said she understood. Said she was proud of me. She had no idea her days of lying to me were numbered. John set up discreet cameras, tapped her phone, and followed her when she traveled. It only took 4 weeks before I had everything I needed. What I didn't expect was how calm she acted the whole time. No change in her behavior. No extra guilt, no slipping up. She seemed just as loving and attentive as always, which somehow made it worse. She had mastered the art of leading 2 lives. And I was the idiot holding the leash on the life that was supposed to be real. I thought I was married to a woman I could trust. Turns out, I was just another detail in her carefully crafted lie. I thought I was falling apart alone, until a bartender who'd seen it all gave me a wake-up call I never saw coming. That night, After leaving John's office, I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to see Karen. I didn't want to look at the walls of the house we built together. A house that now felt fake just like everything else. I ended up at this low-key bar I hadn't been to since college. The kind of place with wood-paneled walls, old beer signs, and a jukebox that still took quarters. I ordered a beer and sat at the far end of the counter, nursing it in silence. I hadn't had a drink in months, maybe years. I wasn't much of a drinker, but tonight I felt like I deserved it. I took a drag from a cigarette, first one in nearly 2 decades, and just stared off into space. "Rough day?" the bartender asked, setting down a napkin and sliding over a glass of water next to my beer. I looked up, barely meeting his eyes. "Is it that obvious?" "Let's just say you've got the look," he said. "Let me guess, wife problems?" I laughed bitterly. 12 years of cheating. With her boss. Found out today. He nodded like he'd heard the story 100 times before. "You'd be surprised how common that is," he said. "Seen and heard it all working this place." "Yeah? How do you keep from going numb to it?" "Sometimes you don't," he said. "But every guy who walks in here broken ends up walking out stronger. Eventually." He reached under the counter and pulled out a small, framed quote. "My grandfather told me this," he said. "I felt sorry for myself because I had no shoes. Then I met a man with no feet." I stared at it for a second, then back at him. "He meant," the bartender added, "no matter how bad you think you've got it, someone out there's got it worse. Doesn't mean your pain isn't real, just means it's survivable." For a moment, I just sat there, stunned by how much those words hit me. "You know," I said slowly, "you might be the first person today who hasn't tried to downplay what I'm feeling." "I've been there," he said. "My ex slept with my best friend. Found out the day I got promoted. Thought my world ended." "What happened?" "I got through it," he said, shrugging. "Took a while, but I did." We sat in silence for a bit, both staring out at nothing. "Finish your beer," he said finally. "Then go home. Get some rest. You won't find the answers at the bottom of that glass." He was right. I already knew everything I needed to know. Karen had lied, betrayed me, used me, and worst of all, she never even looked guilty. I didn't have a plan yet, but I knew I was done pretending everything was okay. On my way out, I tipped the bartender well. "Thanks," I said. He nodded. "Anytime, man. You're gonna get through this. I can see it." Outside, the night air hit my face hard. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to remember how I got here. Not just to the bar, but to this moment. The unraveling of my life. I used to think love was simple. You meet someone, fall in love, build a family, grow old together. Karen and I had that plan. Or so I thought. Now, I didn't even know who she really was. I drove home slow, didn't even turn on the radio. Just silence. When I pulled into the garage, I saw her car was already there. I wasn't expecting that. She usually stayed late at the office. I sat in the car for a minute, gathering myself. My eyes were red and puffy, and I reeked of cigarettes and beer. I stepped inside, trying to make it to my home office without a word. But Karen intercepted me halfway down the hall. "You smoked?" she asked, frowning. "And I smell beer. Is everything okay, Mike?" I looked at her, really looked at her. She was still wearing makeup, still dressed nicely, still pretending everything was fine. "No," I said calmly. "Not even close." Her brow furrowed. "What's going on? Did someone die?" "Something like that," I said, walking past her. "I'm going to my office. I'm not in the mood to talk." "Is there anything I can do?" she asked, all concerned. "Yeah," I thought. "You could stop lying. You could undo 12 years of betrayal. You could give me back the life you stole." But instead I said, "No. Just leave me alone tonight." She didn't say anything for a while. Then softly, she added, "By the way, I'm heading out of town this weekend." It was Tuesday. Another trip. "Again?" I asked. "Didn't you just get back?" "It's for work," she said. "Something came up. It can't be avoided." I just looked at her. And it's Emily's birthday this Saturday, I reminded her. I know, she said, avoiding eye contact. Please tell her I'm sorry. I shook my head. No, Karen. I'm done making excuses for you. I thought seeing the photos was bad. But nothing prepared me for the moment I pressed play on that DVD and watched the woman I married become a stranger. After Karen told me she was leaving again for another work trip, I shut myself in my office, locked the door, and sat down at my desk. The air felt heavy, the silence louder than ever. I looked at the folder John Michaels gave me, the one I hadn't opened all the way. The DVD inside it stared back at me like it was daring me to watch. I had already read John's full report. The details were brutal. The timeline of her trips lined up exactly with Brad's schedule. Hotel receipts, audio recordings, even timestamps from GPS trackers. But the video, I had avoided it. Until now. I popped the disc into my laptop and slid on my headphones. My palms were sweating. My heart was pounding so loud I thought I might puke. And then there they were, Karen and Brad, in his bedroom, naked, laughing, smiling. It wasn't just the physical betrayal. It was how comfortable she was. How happy, like she belonged there. Brad pulled her close and whispered something I'll never forget. Still good for this weekend? Karen giggled. Of course. You know I can't go too long without being with you. What about your daughter's birthday? He asked. She'll be fine, Karen said. Mike's a much better parent than I am. Besides, between cranky kids and being with you, I'll pick you every time. My stomach turned. She didn't just lie to me. She tossed aside her own child's birthday like it was a scheduling conflict. For a man who wasn't her husband. Brad kissed her shoulder and said, I love having you here, but I'm worried he might catch on. Karen pulled the sheet up and said, even if he does, I'll deal with it. I'll say he's crazy. If he pushes, I'll just threaten to ruin him in court. You really think you'll get away with it? I've gotten away with it for 12 years, she said. I'll keep going for as long as I can. I paused the video and just stared at the screen. 12 years. Hundreds of lies. Every dinner we had, every birthday, every bedtime story I read to the kids while she was traveling. All of it was built on lies. I had loved this woman. I supported her dreams, encouraged her when work got stressful, stayed home with the kids when she said she needed space. And this was how she repaid me. With smirks, with lies, with another man. I let the video continue. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to burn the last pieces of denial from my mind. Brad asked, do you ever regret not leaving him sooner? Karen hesitated. At first, I thought I'd leave. But honestly, I learned to separate my life. I gave Mike what he needed, attention, love, the illusion. And I kept you for everything else. I love them both in different ways. And if he finds out, he won't, she said confidently. And even if he does, he's soft. He'll collapse. I'll manipulate the situation. I stopped the video. I sat there, completely still, staring at the progress bar. My breath shallow, my eyes stinging. The love I had for Karen didn't just fade. It died in that moment. Whatever was left of us was gone. And I knew exactly what I had to do next. I spent the rest of the night collecting everything Rachel, my attorney, said she would need. Financial documents, kids' medical records, travel logs, copies of the PI's report. Then I burned a copy of the DVD, just in case. As I organized the folders, I heard a knock on the office door. Mike! Karen's voice came through. Are you coming to bed? I clenched my jaw. Not tonight. Come on, she said, her voice gentle. At least say goodnight to the kids. That stopped me. I opened the door just enough to slip past her, ignoring the way she looked at me. I walked upstairs, kissed Emily and Jake goodnight, smiled like everything was fine, and tucked them in. Then I went back downstairs, grabbed a cup of coffee, and stepped onto the patio. I lit a cigarette. Karen followed me out. I warmed up dinner, she said softly. You haven't eaten. I'm not hungry. She tried to kiss me. I turned my head. She kissed my cheek instead and pulled back, confused. Talk to me, she whispered. What's going on with you? I don't think you want to hear the answer. Mike, you ever hear the phrase, you don't always get what you want? I said. She stared at me, completely lost, or at least pretending to be. I love you, she said. I exhaled a cloud of smoke and looked her in the eyes. It's too late for that. She still smiled at me like nothing was wrong, like our marriage wasn't already dead. But I wasn't playing along anymore. The morning after watching that video, everything felt different. Karen was still in the kitchen, humming, flipping pancakes like it was just another Wednesday. She smiled when I walked in, like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just shattered our entire life behind my back for 12 years. Coffee's fresh, she said, setting a mug on the counter. How are you feeling? You seemed off last night. I sat down. Better, I lied. Just needed rest. She leaned over and kissed the top of my head. I didn't react. I could feel her noticing the difference, but she didn't say anything. I played it calm, cold, but not suspicious. Rachel told me not to tip my hand too early. Let her keep living in the fantasy that I still had no clue. Are you sure you're okay? She asked again, sitting across from me. Yeah, I said, taking a sip of coffee. Just taking control of some things. Good, she said. I was starting to worry. You've been really quiet lately. I nodded. Just a lot on my mind. She got up to pack her things. I cooked a roast for dinner tonight. Your favorite. Thanks, I said. I went into my office and locked the door again. She knocked once, then walked away. That afternoon I met with Rachel. Her office was clean and modern, and she didn't waste time. I read everything John sent over, she said. First off, I'm sorry. I see this stuff more than I should, but it never gets easier to hear. Yeah, I said. I haven't told her I know yet. Good, she nodded. Let her think she still has the upper hand. Meanwhile, we'll prepare everything on our end. We talked custody. I told her I wanted full custody of Emily and Jake, as long as DNA confirmed they were mine. Rachel reminded me that courts usually favor the mother, but I had a strong case. She literally chose her affair partner over her daughter's birthday, I said. That's on video. That's powerful, Rachel agreed. We'll use that. Finances were next. Karen made decent money from the sale of her company, enough to eliminate any talk of alimony. In fact, if I got custody, she might end up paying me child support. Rachel looked up from the documents. You're playing this smart. No outbursts, no shouting. Just slow, precise cuts. She'll get hers, I said. She already is, Rachel replied. She just doesn't know it yet. By the time I got home, Karen was already setting the table. Welcome back, she said, smiling. Everything okay? Just a long day. You seem a calmer, she said. Yeah, I guess I'm just accepting things for what they are. She raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Dinner was delicious. It always was. Karen could cook, I'll give her that. Maybe that's what made it feel even more twisted. The way she still played house like nothing had happened. After the kids went to bed, I poured myself a glass of water and sat on the couch. Karen joined me, curling up beside me like she used to. I didn't move. She placed a hand on my leg. Mike, do you still love me? I stared ahead. Why wouldn't I? I don't know. You've been distant, different. I looked at her, dead in the eyes. People change. She flinched a little. That's not what I meant. I didn't answer, just stood up and stretched. I'm going to sleep in the office again, I said. Still not feeling great. Karen sat there, silent. She didn't argue. As I walked away, I heard her whisper, I miss you. I didn't respond. Later that night, while she slept upstairs, I was in the office finalizing everything with Rachel. We agreed to serve Karen with divorce papers at Brad's house on Saturday evening, right in the middle of her weekend getaway. Along with the papers, I'd send a note, my wedding ring, and our shredded marriage certificate. And just for poetic justice, I planned to burn her wedding dress and send the ashes in a bag. Brutal? Maybe. But after 12 years of lies, I wasn't about to play nice. When I finally went to bed, Karen reached for me. I gently pushed her hand away. Not tonight, I said. For the first time in our entire marriage, I turned her down. She stared at me, stunned. Mike, please. What's going on? I rolled over, my back to her. Good night, Karen. She sobbed quietly behind me, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't care. She thought she was heading into a romantic weekend with her lover. Instead, she got a bag of ashes, divorce papers, and a restraining order, hand-delivered to Brad's front door. Friday came fast. Karen kissed the kids goodbye, gave me a warm smile, and told me she'd be back Monday. Her voice was light, happy, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't burned our family to the ground. By the time she pulled out of the driveway, I had already called the movers. I had everything packed. Her clothes, her books, her keepsakes, and yes, her wedding dress. I had burned it the night before in the fire pit. All that remained was fine gray ash, still warm in the metal bowl. I scooped the ashes into a paper bag, folded the top, and attached an envelope. Inside the envelope, my wedding ring, our shredded marriage certificate, and a letter. It was short, direct, and cold. _ Karen, the entire time we were married, I supported you, loved you, believed in you. While I was building our life, you were sneaking off to Brad Foster's bed. You called it business. But now I know what it really was. 12 years of betrayal. I'm done. The restraining order is active. I've already changed the locks. The kids are staying with me. Everything in this box is yours, and everything in this bag used to mean something. Now it's just ash, like the trust you burned. Goodbye. Mike _ I slipped the note into the envelope, sealed it, and handed it to one of the movers. I gave him two $50 bills and looked him in the eye. Make sure she gets this. Personally. 5:30 sharp. At Brad's house. Yes, sir, he said. We'll take care of it. I nodded. Thanks. By 4:45 p.m., they were on the road, boxes and bag loaded neatly in the truck. I stood in the living room for a moment, looking around. The house already felt lighter, quieter, like the lies had finally left the building. Back at Brad's house, Karen was smiling. Wine glass in hand, robe loosely tied, relaxing on his couch like it was her second home. They were planning dinner, probably laughing at how clueless I was. At 5:30 on the dot, the doorbell rang. Brad answered, expecting takeout. Instead, he got served. Brad Foster? The man asked. Yeah. Linda Turner here too? Karen stepped into the foyer. Yes, that's me. The man handed them both envelopes. You've been served. Brad opened his first, scanning the paperwork. What the? The man turned to Karen. Also, there's a restraining order included. You must stay at least 500 feet from Mike Turner, his residence, his workplace, and his children. Violation can result in arrest. Karen's jaw dropped. You've got to be kidding me. The man walked off without another word. As they stood frozen in the doorway, the second man approached, jeans, t-shirt, holding a paper bag. Linda Turner? She blinked. Yes. This is for you, he said, handing her the bag with the envelope attached. Where should I put the rest of the boxes? Boxes, Brad echoed. The man pointed to the truck. All her stuff. It's all labeled. Just put them inside, Brad said, stunned. As the movers brought box after box into Brad's living room, Karen slowly opened the envelope. Her wedding ring, the marriage certificate torn into 4 pieces, and the letter. Her hands shook as she read it. Then she opened the bag and saw the ashes. Tears spilled down her face as she collapsed to the floor. Brad picked up the note and read it over her shoulder. He burned your dress? He said, stunned. This dude's not playing around. Karen sobbed into her hands. What have I done? Brad stood there awkwardly, still in his robe. Well, he's obviously done with you. She looked up at him, eyes red. He sued you too, for emotional distress. $5 million. Brad cursed under his breath. I need to call my lawyer. Karen sniffled. Do you think he's going after Melissa too? Probably. Let's talk to her, Brad said, already dialing. Back at my house, I was hosting Emily's birthday party. Balloons, pizza, cake. Her friends from school were playing in the yard. I stayed busy on the grill, trying to focus on the moment. Emily smiled and hugged me. Thanks, Dad. I just wish Mom was here. I knelt down, looked her in the eyes and said, Me too, kiddo. We took pictures. We laughed. We sang. But behind every smile was the weight of what I knew was coming next. Karen had officially lost her marriage, and she had no idea how much more she was about to lose. My daughter's birthday party was supposed to be a happy day, but the moment I told my in-laws the truth, the entire room felt like it cracked in half. The party was in full swing by the time Diane and Tom, Karen's parents, showed up with gifts and a cake Karen had ordered. They were smiling, or at least trying to, but I could tell something was off. Maybe they already knew something wasn't right. You've been busy, Diane said as she walked into the kitchen. The place looks great. I didn't really have a choice, I told her. Just wanted to make it a good day for Emily. You did a great job, she said. She'll never forget this. I paused for a second, then asked, Did Emily tell you her mom won't be here today? Diane nodded. Yeah, she told us. I can't believe Karen's not even coming to her daughter's birthday. She looked at me, and for a second, I saw it. A mix of sadness and suspicion. Is everything okay between you two? I looked toward the hallway to make sure the kids weren't nearby, then turned to her and Tom. No, it's not okay. Not even close. Tom's face tightened. What's going on? I didn't want to say anything today, but you'll find out soon enough, I said. I'm divorcing Karen. Diane gasped. What? Why? I exhaled. Because she's been cheating on me for 12 years. With Brad Foster. Tom's eyes went wide. Are you serious? I'm completely serious. I hired a private investigator. I have a report. Photos, video, audio, everything. Diane turned pale and dropped into a chair. Oh my God. Tom shook his head slowly. I always had a bad feeling about that guy. If you want, I can show you the report, I said. Tom nodded. Yes, I'd like to see it. Diane shook her head. I don't need to. I believe you. I just can't believe she'd do something so stupid. I led Tom into my office and handed him the folder. He read through it in silence. When he was done, he closed it gently and looked at me. She destroyed everything, he said quietly. You didn't deserve this. No, but here we are. Tom sat still for a long moment, then looked up. What are you going to do about Brad? I already filed a lawsuit, I said. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. He snorted. That's it? That guy stole your wife, broke up your family, and you're just suing him? I've thought about worse, I admitted. But I've got 2 kids to raise. I can't do that from a jail cell. Tom nodded. You're probably right. He glanced toward the backyard. I still think someone needs to teach him a lesson. Back outside, Diane had everything ready for the party. When Emily came downstairs and saw all the decorations, her eyes lit up. Thank you, Dad, she said, throwing her arms around me. It's amazing. I wish Mom was here. Me too, sweetheart, I said. But we'll take lots of pictures, okay? At around 4:30, the doorbell rang. It was the last guests, Melissa Foster, her husband Steve, and their daughter Chloe. Surprised to see you here, Melissa, I said as I let them in. I thought you had a big business trip with your brother this weekend. It's just Brad and Karen, she said quickly. I wasn't needed this time. Right? I said, walking them to the kitchen. Want something to drink? She smiled awkwardly. Sure. We made small talk for a bit before she asked. So, is everything okay between you and Karen? Why do you ask? You're not wearing your wedding ring, she said softly. I looked down at my bare finger. Yeah, I gave it back. Maybe Brad will have better luck with it than I did. Her face dropped. John, save it, I said. I know everything. I know about their affair. I know you helped cover it up. You sat in my house, ate my food, smiled at my kids. All while you knew she was cheating. John, please, For 12 years, Melissa, I cut in. 12 years you said nothing. You let me look like a fool. Tears welled up in her eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you. Well, you did, I said. In the worst way possible. I want you and your family out of my house. Now. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Understood. Oh, and Melissa? I added as she reached the door. She turned. Don't come back. She nodded again and left without a word. He thought he could blindside me in public. He thought I'd fall apart. But all those years of pain, they came out swinging. Saturday night, after the party was over and the kids were with Diane and Tom, I needed a break. Tom offered to take me out. Just the two of us. Said we could grab a beer, catch a game, clear my head. I agreed. We went to the Red Barrel, a local sports bar downtown. Big TVs lined the walls. The place was packed, but somehow it still felt quiet inside my head. Like the world had dulled to a low hum. Tom ordered us burgers and a couple beers. You doing okay? He asked. I nodded slowly. I'm just tired. I get it, he said. I know Karen's my daughter, but I still can't believe what she did. And for so long. She didn't just cheat, I said. She built a whole second life. And I was just the idiot playing husband while she lived it. She's paying for it now, he said. That look on her face when she got served. That was the look of someone realizing they ruined everything. We ate in silence for a while. I was just about to finish my drink when I heard a voice behind me. A voice I immediately recognized. You ruined her life, you son of a... Brad snapped. Before I could turn, something heavy crashed into the back of my head. I saw stars and fell forward, my face hitting the table. Tom jumped up, shouting, but Brad wasn't done. He lunged for me again, this time trying to stomp me while I was down. I rolled just in time. My vision blurred. My ears rang. But then I heard something click inside me. Not fear, not hesitation, just raw, red fury. I kicked upward, straight into Brad's groin. He howled and stumbled backward, crashing into a chair. I scrambled to my feet, blood in my mouth, fists clenched. This wasn't going to be clean. I tackled him, pinned him to the floor and started swinging. Left, right, left again. No technique, no finesse. Just 12 years of betrayal pouring out through my fists. He tried to block, but I got through. One of my punches split his lip. Another cracked into his jaw. I didn't stop. I didn't care. Tom and another guy finally pulled me off. I don't even remember what I said. I was shouting, growling, completely out of my head. By the time I calmed down, Brad was unconscious. His face looked like ground meat. I collapsed into a chair, breathing hard, hands shaking. Sirens howled in the distance. Then, everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed with a doctor shining a light in my eyes. My right wrist was bandaged, and my left arm was in a cast. My head felt like it had been split open. He'll be okay, the doctor said. No concussion, just some bruising. Arms fractured. We'll give him something for the pain. Tom was sitting beside me. You're lucky, he said. Could have been worse. What about Brad? He's in worse shape. They say he might lose a tooth. Got a cracked orbital. Internal bleeding. You messed him up pretty good. I exhaled slowly. He hit me first. Yep. Witnesses confirmed it. Surveillance footage too. The cops are here, by the way. 2 officers stepped in a minute later. Mr. Turner? I'm Sergeant Hayes. This is Officer Brent. We're the ones who responded last night. How are you feeling? Like I got hit in the head, I said. Hayes smiled slightly. According to witnesses and video, Mr. Foster attacked you unprovoked. You defended yourself. Do you want to press charges? Absolutely, I said. I also have a restraining order against him. Already verified, Brent said. He violated it the moment he stepped into that bar. Hayes nodded. We're charging him with aggravated assault and violating a court order. He won't be getting out anytime soon. They handed me a card and left. Right after they walked out, the door opened again. Diane, Tom, and Karen stepped inside. I stiffened. What's she doing here? Karen looked down. The order doesn't take effect until noon. I needed to see you. You should have gone to see Brad, I said coldly. Oh wait, he's in the hospital too. She flinched. Then Emily and Jake walked in behind her. Emily had tears in her eyes. Are you okay, Dad? I smiled despite the pain. I'm all right, honey. Jake tried to hide it, but he was smiling too. I heard you wrecked him. I chuckled. Yeah, but there's no glory in that, son. Remember that. Karen stood there awkwardly. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, she said. I stared at her, eyes hollow. Too late. She said she still loved me, that she never stopped. But after 12 years of lies, I couldn't even look at her the same way. After the kids stepped out of the hospital room with Diane and Tom, Karen stayed behind. Just me and her. The silence between us felt louder than any shouting match could have. She sat down at the edge of the chair. Mike, I don't know how to start. You could start by explaining why, I said flatly. Why you threw away our family. Why you chose him. Again and again. She looked down at her hands. At first, it wasn't like that. Brad told me if I wanted the promotion, being close to him was part of the deal. I blinked. Are you telling me this started as blackmail? No, she said quickly. Not exactly. I mean, he didn't force me. I made a choice. I wanted that job so badly, and I thought I could keep it separate. I shook my head. So you made a deal with the devil, and then kept cashing in for over a decade. I know how it sounds, she whispered. You were supposed to come to me, I said, my voice cracking. We could have handled it. We were a team, but you didn't want a team. You wanted both lives, the family and the affair. I tried to keep it from affecting us, she said. I gave you everything you needed at home. I made sure the kids were happy. You gave me nothing, I snapped. You gave him your body, your loyalty, your weekends. You gave me leftovers. And lies. Tears streamed down her face. I still love you, Mike. I never stopped. Then how could you keep going? I asked. Even after you retired? You told Brad you'd keep sleeping with him for the rest of your life. You said, and I quote, I love my family, but I would never give up *** with you. You remember saying that? She went pale. You heard that? I heard everything, I said. Every word, every moan, every fake excuse. I even heard you say you'd threaten to destroy me in court if I found out. Her mouth hung open. She didn't even try to deny it. You didn't just betray me, I said quietly. You planned for what would happen after you got caught. Like it was a business strategy. Damage control. She buried her face in her hands. I didn't think you'd ever find out. No, I said. You thought I'd never matter enough to look. Silence again. Finally, she spoke. So what now? You sign the papers, I said. You let go. And you try to fix whatever part of you thought this was okay. She nodded, still crying. I already signed. Rachel told me everything's being finalized. Good. I know you don't believe me, but I meant it when I said I loved you. I let that sit in the air for a second. Maybe you did, I said. But you didn't respect me. You didn't protect what we had. You didn't protect the kids. I was broken, she whispered. We're all broken, I said. But most of us don't use that as an excuse to lie for 12 years. Karen wiped her face, trembling. Do you think maybe one day we could? No, I said, cutting her off. You shattered something I can't rebuild. I'll always care about you. For the kids. For the life we had. But I'll never trust you again. She nodded, swallowing hard. I understand. She stood up and leaned in to kiss my cheek. Goodbye, Mike. Goodbye, Karen. She walked out of the room. And that was the moment I realized. I felt nothing. No hate. No love. Just relief. It was finally over. I lost my marriage, but I didn't lose everything. In fact, what I gained afterward might have saved me. And my kids, for good. 90 days later, the divorce was finalized. I walked out of Rachel's office a free man. Free from the lies. Free from the weight of pretending. Free from someone who had been playing a role for over a decade. Karen didn't contest anything. Not custody. Not finances. Not the restraining order. She signed the papers and quietly disappeared into Diane and Tom's home. I got the house, full custody of Emily and Jake, and a settlement worth just under $3.5 million after legal fees and the lawsuit against Brad and Melissa. Turns out, naming and shaming people in court with photos, transcripts, and video proof make settlement talks move fast. I split $1 million evenly into 2 trust accounts for the kids, for college, travel, whatever they needed. The rest went into savings. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was drowning. Emily and Jake adjusted better than I expected. They missed their mom, of course, but they also saw through her. "Do you still love her?" Emily asked one night after dinner. "I love the person I thought she was," I said. "But sometimes people aren't who they pretend to be." She nodded slowly. "I think I get it." Jake was more direct. "So you're never getting back together?" "No," I told him. "Not even if she asked." "Good," he said. "She doesn't deserve you." I wanted to cry when he said that, but I just smiled and ruffled his hair. That summer, we went on a Mediterranean cruise. Just me and the kids. It was something I'd always wanted to do, but never thought I could afford or justify. On that cruise, I met someone. Her name was Nikki. She was from British Columbia, divorced, 2 kids of her own. Funny, thoughtful, and real in a way I hadn't felt in years. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and this laugh that made everyone around her smile. She said, at the end of half her sentences, which cracked me up every time, and she didn't flinch when I told her my story. We talked every night, walked the deck under the stars, laughed, shared scars, and yes, we spent a few nights together. No strings, no promises, just 2 people trying to remember what it feels like to be wanted for the right reasons. When the cruise ended, we exchanged info. Now we talk every week, emails, calls, even video chats. I don't know where it's going. But for once, I'm not rushing anything. I'm just letting it be good. Karen tried to reach out once or twice. Not to me, to the kids. I allowed it under supervision. She apologized to them, told them she was getting help. She even started writing articles for business blogs again. Staying busy, staying quiet. Then one day, Diane called me in tears. Karen had tried to take her own life again. Apparently, Emily had sent her a photo from the cruise, me, Nikki, and the kids at dinner. Harmless, sweet, normal. But it pushed Karen over the edge. They found her in the bathroom, unconscious. Pills and alcohol. She survived barely. But this time, doctors didn't take chances. They had her admitted to a mental health facility for long-term care. Diane and Tom were heartbroken, but even they knew it had to happen. "She's not safe right now," Tom told me. Not for herself. Not for anyone. I didn't celebrate her breakdown. I didn't gloat. But I did feel something I wasn't expecting. Clarity. I had done everything I could to give her a life, family, a future. She threw it away. Now, she was finally feeling even a fraction of what she made me feel the day I opened that envelope. And I wasn't angry anymore. The kids and I found our rhythm. School drop-offs, game nights, laughter that didn't feel forced. They still see their grandparents every week. And sometimes they even talk to Karen over the phone, carefully, slowly. I make space for that, because it's their mom no matter what. But as for me, I moved on. Nikki came to visit with her kids last fall. We all went camping together up north. The cabin was quiet. The trees were gold and orange. It was the first time in years I felt like I was living, not just surviving. I don't know what the future holds. But I do know this. Sometimes losing someone you love is the best thing that can happen to you, especially when that person never really loved you back.